Well, the tax reforms just killed a second reading in the House of Representatives, and if passed into law, is expected to be a major game changer that would turn around the nation's economy and political landscape. I am delighted to have the Chairman, House Committee on Defense, Honorable Babajimi Benson. He joins us on Arise Prime Time. Glad to have you.
Same here.
Join us. Let me start by congratulating you. This day Arise Awards, you won Rep of the Year.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you to This Day and Arise as well, and to your ebullient and chairman.
All right. After 5 months of consultations, the tax bill scaled second reading. How did it go, and what next?
Yes, if you know forms of government, we practice the federal system, and we deliberately chose a federal system because Nigeria is not a homogeneous country. It's a heterogeneous country, meaning you have very diverse people, culture, religion, and over 200 to 20 million people. So if you infuse a program or a policy that will change the dynamics of how things were being done in the past, there's supposed to be pullbacks, pushbacks, and so it's been a very topsy-turvy run. Yes, but everybody now understands what the bill stands for. And I always recall what happened during Awolowo's time when he introduced free education, right? Parents were so upset with Awolowo that if he's driving to the farm, they tried to stone him because the parents saw their kids as a means to sustaining their wealth. That is, they take the kids to the farms, they help them till the ground, whatever, cocoa, and blah, blah, blah. So when free education started, those kids started going to school. And those fathers started seeing Awolowo as an enemy, that he's using someone else to entice their kids not to go to the farm. So that same scenario is being played in this tax reform. People sit at different sides of the table, understanding it from a prism of religion, culture, and having to change something, forces a pushback. But guess what? In the fullness of time, the merits of the tax bill far outweighed the demerits. I mean, people were scared about inheritance, about consumption, about derivation, about things like that. But explaining it to them forged a consensus, forged negotiation, forged happiness. And like we always say, Mr. President is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. The buck stops at his table. He's our doctor. So he's diagnosed the Nigerian problem, and he's giving us, he believes the tax bill is an injection that will re-engineer, that will foster financial engineering and more wealth coming into Nigeria. So it's been a good run. I must also commend our speaker, who burned the midnight candle. Yes, he went to see most of the governors one by one. He's an accountant. One by one, he saw the merits in the bill, and he assured them that this bill, your misgivings, if indeed they are responsible, will be addressed, and we all come to the negotiation table, and that's what resulted in what we passed on Tuesday.
What next?
What next is we wait for the public hearing, where the bill will be further dissected, where we will take the inputs of Nigerians from Katsina to Jibia to Ibadan to Ikorodu. We'll sit down, dissect it, dimension it, and we'll hear their views, and we take it further.
All right. You mentioned governors. Governors, of course, eventually accepted the tax reforms, but with a proviso, a new sharing formula for especially as it has to do with VAT. Was this accommodated in this second reading?
It will be accommodated because, like we always say, if you recall the derivation percentage, it's 15 or 16.
I mean, it was
15,
20, 60, 20 before, something like that.
No, I think derivation, the oil and
okay.
oil
Okay.
from the oil areas, from the south area.
Yeah.
You know, the negotiation started way back, maybe during the time of Yaradua. So they started at 50%. But we all sat down, negotiated, and I think it's 13% now.
13%.
Yeah. So normally a bill comes in high, right? It comes in with a figure, but we will sit down, the critical stakeholders will sit down, negotiate, move back and forth, look at merits and demerits.
Yeah, saying 50, 30, 20.
20, yes.
50, 30, I can't remember the 20
derivation,
population.
consumption, 30, 20 population. I think that is fair. Now, what that means, and what I've also always tried to drive down, is that your consumption and your population should earn you some respect when it comes to sharing stuff. Right? So Lagos and Kano, huge population, huge consumption. They tell us that majority of sugar products, Cadbury, a lot of people don't know this. A lot of sugar-centric products, Cadbury, blah, blah. They sell more in the north. They consume them more in the north. Yes. Prior to this tax reform, the headquarters, which is located in Lagos, gets all the benefits. The GSM companies, right? Prior to this tax reform, Lagos gets all the. Now, Kano with huge population may even rival Lagos. So in this whole gamut of event that has happened, I say collaboration between some northern and southern states. So Kano will say, hey, Lagos, come, we're in the same basket. Let's leave Yobe and these small states alone. Let's talk. How do we plan? How do you synergize? How are your free trade zones doing? How are you enabling environments to attract businesses? So I see a deep talk about advancing the interests of Nigerians. You understand? Prior to this, everybody assumed that the lowest VAT contributing states are in the north. I'm sure you do as well. The lowest is Imo State and Cross River. Yes. So with this, everybody should wake up and make sure their environments are attractive to businesses. Yeah, so if that happens, they will be attracting businesses and they'll be based on consumption, things will change for them.
All right. Talk to us about the establishment of ombudsman system to address the tax-related conflict. I'm sure there's going to be an ombudsman.
Yeah,
there's a system.
Yeah, which is good. So if there's conflict, rather than waiting to go to the court or waiting to write to see the chairman, there's an independent ombudsman. Once you write your complaints, so they come and tax you. You know, they're consolidating. I think, excuse me, 91 taxes into 6. You know, local governments come with this tax for generator, tax, so everything is consolidated into 6. And they send you a circular stating how much you owe. And you dispute it. You can file a case with the ombudsman. So he looks at it and he gives justification to say, oh, Mr. Taxman, this is too high, or Mr. Businessman, this is too low, which is also great for business.
So let's break down the expected impact of these tax reforms if eventually
passes.
So
it's going to public hearing now. Yeah. So expected benefits, number 1, the minimum wage earners, 75,000 times 36 states, and majorly civil servants, public servants who earn 75,000 and below, 0 tax. Right? Businesses, SMEs who earn up to 50 million, 0 tax. Right? Which is good. Most importantly,
0 tax on their gross or net?
I think it's gross.
Okay.
I think. I'm not too sure about it. Thirdly, which nobody talks about, Nigeria becomes very competitive when it comes to FDI. Nowadays, if Google, for instance, want to outsource work to Nigerians, right? The Nigerian tax law, which was set up in 1930-something, taxes the Nigerian and taxes the home country of Google, right? Whereas in Ghana, the taxes are nimble and up to date. They only tax the employees that they outsource the work to. That's the Ghanaian government. So now this has removed all that bottleneck. It will only tax the Nigerian who gets the US dollars or whatever. It won't tax the home company. So it gives that Google the
impetus to want to
invest in this economy that has the youngest, the brightest young people in the world. So it's such a huge injection of opportunities for Nigerians. It's indeed a new dawn.
You talked about paradigm. I mean, someone said when change comes, anytime change comes, there are three reasonings. One, it won't work. Two, it's too hard. Three, I thought it would work at the beginning. But then, some have said that Nigerians don't pay tax because it's not judicially administered. Accountability, the question of accountability in tax and tax utilization. How is the government going to work to change this paradigm? I mean, if Nigerians know, they always ask, why is our tax going to? Mismanagement of it, non-utilization of it, or diverted into things. That's why they don't bother about paying tax. I mean, this question has to be addressed.
Okay, good. If you look at Nigeria again, it has 6% tax to GDP ratio. It's the lowest in Africa, right? It doesn't speak too well. That is why we borrow so much, because the tax to GDP ratio is low. If it was higher, we will be less dependent on borrowing. So now the government has streamlined people who can pay, people who can pay. It's a progressive tax initiative. We, on our part, somebody proposed a law or an amendment to the act that it is not only the defaulters that will be liable for not paying. Tax administrators who taxes are paid to, in the event that the monies paid for those taxes are not judiciously utilized, there should also be a penalty, a corresponding penalty on the other side. That we agree with. But we also know that if you declassify who pays what and the tax is more progressive, right, there will be accountability, because if I know that they're using technology to monitor me and they forced me, in quotes, to pay a particular amount of tax and I can't evade, it brings out the corresponding responsibility on me to ensure that my money is judiciously utilized. So that is the type of reasoning that this tax will bring or foster on Nigerians.
Now, legislators say it will harmonize tax admin, eliminate multiple taxation, create structured framework for tax dispute resolution. But Labour says, not only Labour, ASU as well, they reject it. ASU says it will reduce funding to TED Fund and cripple tertiary institutions. NLC touts fairness, inclusivity, and transparency.
So if I were those guys, I would first thank the government, right, for getting some people out of the tax bracket, because times are hard. A huge chunk of their...
particularly because of the government's policy too, let's not forget that. Times are hard because of the government's policies.
Yeah, it's not because of the government policies.
Mostly
we live
those two policies.
We live in a VUCA world. Yes, it's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, it's ambiguous. There was everywhere. The financing you used to get before, things are drying up, right? So government is forced to look inwards. There's no government that would have come to Nigeria that would not have done this similar thing that is going on. And they all said it as well, right? So I'm saying, firstly, Labour, ASU, should be happy that I'm sure majority of their members will pay zero tax, those who earn less than 75 and blah, blah, blah. Now, the issue about TED Fund has been addressed. That's why I said a law is not perfect.
Yeah.
You have to dice, slice, and negotiate. And we've said, the governors have also said, that let's leave TED Fund. Let's not tinker with it anymore to say that it will have an expiry date. So I'm sure there's a consensus to say, okay, governors, have your way. Nigerians, have your way. After all, Nigerians are our bosses. We are not an authority over them. They are an authority over us. They'll tell us what we want. Our constituents will tell us what we want, and we'll tweak the laws to fix that.
Now that you have said that, so but let me raise this issue. I mean, the National Assembly has been accused of kowtowing, as it were, to the whims and caprices of the executive, instead of amplifying, just like you said now, the voices of the people, which is your constitutional obligation.
So,
I mean, in some instances, rubber stamp is used. The phrase rubber stamp is used.
Yes, so again, if, say for instance, me, yes, I want to get stuff from my constituency, right? Rather than being confrontational, I'd apply diplomacy.
Yeah.
I'd apply lobbying, yes. Lobbying, being diplomatic, doesn't mean you're a rubber stamp, right? At times, we have more information. At times, we're far-sighted, so we understand the executive's predicaments, right? And we try to kowtow, agree, tweak, tinker with some of their proposals. There's not a time where they bring stuff and we pass and say, 100% just go. Some of the things we believe in, and again, democracy is a game of numbers. There are three major parties, APC, PDP, LPC.
LPC?
Yeah, I put Congress because most of them are coming to APC. So we're trying to, they all jump in shape. So they see this tax reform, they see good things we're doing, and the party is becoming extremely attractive to everyone. Contrary to the belief they had before.
The talk is that, we're just talking. It's part of it. You were smiling and saying it, but the talk is that, how does it affect the electorate? Nigeria tending to, go towards a one-party state.
No.
It's not good for democracy.
No. So, as you lay your bed, so if one party is doing well, consolidating, introducing far-sighted bills.
Doing well is relative.
Doing well is relative, but building blocks for doing well. Yes, you remove subsidy, right?
Subsidy has
subsidy is gone.
Caused hardship on Nigeria.
Yes, for now.
Without what do you call it? What do you call those? It's not even palliatives. The government should have thought about trying to cushion. The government didn't do that.
So the cushioning was supposed to be this transportation, cost of transportation, which breeds inflation. We also have a huge security challenge, as you well know, right? If you look at this year's budget, the amount budgeted for security is huge.
I'm going to come to that because you're defense.
Because the government also understands that welfare of the people is paramount, and that is underpinned by how secure the country is, right? So I'm not saying things are perfect. I'm saying they're building blocks, and I know that the president means well. There's a Bible phrase that says that when your kids come to you and they say they're hungry, would I give you stones?
You being evil, would you give them snake?
Exactly. So he knows what he's doing. The buck stops at his table. Yes. I always urge everybody, for once, let's all come together. Let's not talk about Nigeria in a negative light for 3 months. and let's see what's going to happen. Yes, we talk down on our country. If we go outside, if you understand the huge admiration outsiders have for Nigerians, right? The average Nigerian goes out, they speak good English, they articulate, they're smart, they're confident. Nowhere in the world do you have citizens like that. So
Nigerians are fantastic.
We all need to come down, sit down and say, you know what, moratorium, let's sign a pact. Nobody must criticize Nigeria for 3 months.
No, the pain of Nigerians
No, let's do bipartisanship, like we exhibited it during the tax reform thing, right? Let's all sit down, let's sign a charter. Let's just do it for 3 months and see the impact, the inflow of opportunities that will come.
Yeah, Jimmy, but the point is that Nigerians, I agree with you totally. I mean, you can't question positivity, and I mean, Norman Vincent Peale talks about it, and you should think positively and speak positively. But you know, over time, because of leadership and how they've played with the intelligence of Nigerians.
You know the story of the wolf. When the wolf comes out, so the wolf is out now, but nobody believes. They still think it's a joke, but the reforms are here. We're at the cusp of great things, but everybody's still doubting, which is why I always, let's just sign a pact, 3 months.
All right. There's still, I mean, you mentioned some of them, but let's talk about the fact of implementation challenges, clarity on derivation, and artificial transactions, also inheritance tax, which you mentioned before. Some, I mean, you had divides, you know, I think it eventually went to even north and south, you know, divide. It showed glaringly during this. So how are you addressing these issues? Like I said, implementation challenges, clarity on derivation. Some people wanted to know artificial transactions, and then inheritance tax. Some refused it totally.
So let me start from the inheritance tax. Our constitution, the ground norm, gives everybody the right to practice their religion, right? So there's nowhere in that tax bill that says that inheritances will be taxed. It's just a lack of deep understanding of the tax bill. We've summoned the chairman of the presidential task force, and Mr. Zach several times. Nowhere does it say so. And even if it does, it's dead on arrival because it clashes with, so it's dead on arrival. So the huge cry and blah, blah, political mistrust, you understand, whipping up sentiments to make
It's good that you're saying this.
Yeah. So
because, I mean, when I was reading this, I mean, some of them were talking about it and saying that they have to clarify that.
Yeah, so it's easy to clarify. So even Mr. President, when they submitted the tax bill, he said it's not cast in stone. As parliamentarians, we know what to do. We know what to strike off. We know what is controversial. So they were amplified to just, that's why I said, let's sign a 3-month pact, a charter. Nigeria, let's just make sure this country
pray for Nigeria, talk about Nigeria in
positive,
good
exactly.
Light. Let's talk about your area. One of the major sticking points of the fight against insecurity is procurement. Why is it so, what's your committee doing to change this narrative? Why is it so intractable?
So number one, let's tell ourselves the truth. We do not have a budget to fight the war. We are at the war. You know, Nigerians think Boko Haram is fighting Nigeria. No, it's Nigeria that is at war, right? Anytime there's a war, you have a war budget. Do we have a war budget? No. Yes, our budget is 54 trillion. Good enough. It's been raised to, for the first time in history, about 9% of it has been set aside for the defense sector. So if you divide that 9% by the exchange rate of the dollar, it pales into insignificance. In a time where there is Israel, Palestine war, Ukraine, Russian war, you understand? Congo. So those are guys who manufacture these things. So they will first cater for their own needs first. So at times you may even have the dollar, right? You may convert and you pay instrumentally because of the way we even release funds for fighting wars. You know, you have this envelope system that doesn't allow you to release 100%. So you release it in scales. Piecemeal. And you're competing against other countries who have the cash.
I'm even talking in terms of the corruption.
Oh, the corruption. Okay.
Yeah.
So
the procurement, the corruption.
This government,
because you asked for, because I have less time, you called for improved funding for the defense intelligence agency.
Yeah. So what we're trying to do, so I am a big advocate for government-to-government transactions. So Nigerian government sits with another government, manufacture this, we transfer. The way we bought the Tucano from the US government, we transferred X amount of money straight to the American government, opening an LC. So there are no middlemen, so manufacture, you have a service level agreement, and that's it.
That removes corruption.
That removes corruption, right? But the issue is the money you want to transfer 100%, you even have it. If you compare our military spend with other African countries, you would expect us to be number one, right? So, but we're punching beyond our weights. The president has signed a DICON bill, which allows local manufacturing. So we're trying to do a backward integration system. We've been in this war for a long time. Our military men are very smart. They're ingenuine. They're building stuff by themselves, and which is the way to go. That will conserve. You see, there was the same way Dangote is doing great things. Yes, the DICON law will enable Nigerian companies do great things, and we already have a lot of them, even exporting.
Just in about a minute or so, Beacon Security says, compared to 2023, insecurity worsened in 2024. Security forces remains overstretched and call for accountability in security governance.
So that's easy to answer, right? And I always say this. Big problems, right? Armed forces, overstretched indeed. We need state police.
We can't go into that now because, I mean, okay, the government, the federal government and the states have agreed, and it remains to work it out and see where it goes. But
we need state police. We need local government autonomy. The late General Lagbaja and the current CDS, they always said, sir, we win the war, we win local governments, but we don't have people to hand them over to. Because the local government back then, there's no money. But with this recent Supreme Court decision that says release local government funds to local government.
Yeah, but then the talk is that National Assembly is wasting time with ironing the rough edges, and governors are trying to pass laws against that.
No, so I believe, I read a book, 10 Judgments That Saved India. When the Supreme Court passes a law, yes, it is a law indeed. Yes, you don't need the
no
job.
Tweaking, no.
The job of the National Assembly is just to suo moto, or just because the job of the judiciary is to interpret laws. If they interpret the law and they say, local government, this is how you should be funded. We do not have a say in it. We just need to amend our laws to fulfill what the Supreme Court has said.
I hope you guys do it fast.
Yeah,
so the governors can follow immediately. Once again, congratulations on winning the Rep of the Year.
Thank you very much.
Good discussion with you. And some explanations on the tax. I'm sure Nigerians have been enlightened. Thank you so much for being on Arise Prime Time.
Thanks for having me.